Hello, it's Mr. Hill again, and welcome to this next virtual online lesson for design and technology theory, specifically product design. So we're going to have a look at ecological, environmental, and social issues and how they can relate to the way that we design products and think about design in general. So let's have a look then. The learning in this section, we're going to have a look at some ecological issues. The 6 R's that will become clear, social issues, and some examples of a case study on fair trade. And then lastly, we're going to touch on some oceanic pollution ideas and thoughts. So let's get started. So if we have a look at ecological design considerations and what we actually need to think about, we know that obviously ecological and social implications of using a material like metal, for an example, is non-renewable, okay, in its nature. And that's the main concern of a material such as that. Now, if we continue with metal as an example, metal cannot be grown, okay, and that's why it's a finite resource. There's only a certain amount within the Earth's crust. So if we were to make lots and lots of products and materials and we were to use it, it's only a finite resource. So designers and design companies need to think of alternative materials that they can use, which has a less ecological, environmental, and social impact. So I've put some key words there in blue. Those will often be key terminology or words that you need to reference or use within an exam context. So if we continue with metals then, and more specifically aluminium, okay, this is a purified metal and is extracted from this through electrolysis. And I'm not going to read through that all because I think you guys can read through that and pause it at your own speed so you can get to grips with that. But it is worth noting that huge amounts of energy are used to extract aluminium and convert it into a usable material. That's why we really need to consider whether that is the most appropriate material to use, and we need to consider its environmental impact. Also, additionally, recycling it requires some energy to make it usable again, but obviously nowhere near as much as the extraction process. So there you've got 2 examples of ecological design considerations around metal, and you can cite these within an exam question. So the 6 R's, said at the beginning that we were going to touch on these, and these are super, super important. You can see an image on the side there of the 6 R's, but let's go a little bit deeper and look into them a little bit more. So let's have a look at improving our footprint using the 6 R's. So they are reduce, reuse, recycle, rethink, refuse, and repair. Okay, so if we take reduce for an example, can the amount of metal used in a product be reduced? Okay, can the metal be bought locally to reduce product miles? I know that when I'm making products myself, certainly within school and educational context, we will seek out suppliers for our materials that are incredibly local. That way, we know that our projects and our products that the students are making have we're improving the ecological footprint. Reuse. Can the metal be reused for another purpose once the product is finished with? I do this all the time with cans. So if I've got a can of baked beans and I have finished using that, I will try and repurpose that to reuse it for something else, like a pot to put pens in, something like that. Recycle. We all know that most metals can be recycled, but it's really important that we dispose of that correctly so that it can be recycled in the best way possible and most efficient way to reduce our ecological footprint. So rethink. During the design process, when you're developing your ideas and you may be prototyping, can the way a product is made be redesigned so that less metal is used? Is there a way that you can still create your product, but reduce the amount of metal that you're using. Therefore, you're reducing the amount you need, and in turn, you're reducing that ecological footprint. Refuse. Sometimes it's really important that although you may think it's the best material to use for your project, it has been known, and it's encouraged that actually we can, as designers, we can refuse to deal with that type of material because of its ecological footprint. It may not be feasible. So could a material that is sustainable be used as an alternative? Try not to go for the most common, easiest materials when you're designing. It's important that we really evaluate whether we can refuse that product as part of our 6 R's. And repair. Upcycling is huge at the moment. I know on BBC, I love The Repair Shop, a great TV program where if a product is broken or parts are missing, they can repair it, okay, instead of it being discarded. So that's a great way to continue the product's life and reduce ecological footprint. Now, I've said before, but it is really worth noting that this is super important. In an exam question, if you cite any of the 6 R's or you reference the 6 R's, you are going to pick up marks. So if you're going to do anything from this small, short lesson, try and remember these 6 R's. They're probably the most important thing when we're thinking about our ecological, social, and environmental impact of designing and the materials that we use. So let's see where we can implement these 6 R's. So a case study that's a really good one to use that you can often cite in an exam as an example is fair trade. Okay, so fair trade aims to help producers in poorer countries make better trading conditions in order to receive a better percentage of the money you pay for products. So you'll often see, I think there's lots of fair trade products around, maybe on your weekly shop, or even when you go to the shop after school to get some sweets or some chocolate. You may want to choose a fair trade product, as you know that is reducing the it's reducing the ecological footprint, but in turn, it's improving its social responsibilities and its social footprint. So let's just think, fair trade is about better prices, decent working conditions, local sustainability, another really key word there, and fair trade terms and fair trade terms of trade for farmers and workers in the development world. And lastly, and probably most importantly, on a social level, it promotes equality. The producer will receive the same percentage of money, which is relative to the sale price, as well as the manufacturer and the shopkeeper that sells it. So it's a profit share across all channels when we're thinking about producing these fair trade products. So opt for fair trade, you know that you're doing a good thing. So again, this is a really great one to cite in an exam question. It comes up all the time to give an example of a company. This is a great one to use, and you can use some of the keywords in blue to help bolster your argument. So I said at the start that we'd have a touch on oceanic pollution. Okay, this is one that will often come up in the exam, and we've got some causes of oceanic pollution here. So we've got sewage, toxic chemicals from industries, large-scale oil spills, and littering. Now, I don't think I have to go into these too much, as we know in the press and in the news, and it's quite widely reported, of all the things that can damage our oceans. Okay, the main one there, and probably the most prevalent one, is littering. Littering is huge. We all know that discarding plastic is a significant issue that we're all trying our best to reduce. So let's have a look at some of the effects of oceanic pollution. So disruption to the cycle of coral reefs affects human health and failure in the reproductive system of sea animals and our ecosystems. Also, our biosystems can also be affected. So there, if we had an exam question that was asking you to cite a cause and an effect of oceanic pollution, those are some examples there that you can reference. So I hope that that has been really useful in going through some of the things that we've looked at there. And it's a brief rundown of sort of things that we need to be considering. I would suggest that you do a little bit more research. I'll put some links into the description below so you can have a look and further your learning on this particular topic. But until the next online lesson, I will see you very, very shortly. Please don't forget to follow and subscribe to keep up to date with when I'll be releasing more videos. But for now, have a great weekend and I'll see you very shortly. Goodbye.